Hello students, in continuity of chapter 13, organisms and population. Here we are going to study about adaptations in living organisms and population attributes. In previous chapter you have already studied about the organism and their environment, major abiotic factors and responses to abiotic factors regarding living organism. Now let's discuss about adaptations. All of you know very well Darwin's law, that is survival of the fittest. Okay, what is its practical application actually of this law, survival of the fittest? It means what? Okay, those organisms can then adapt their environment. It means that changes in environment according to they also change their physiological activity, behavioral activity and some other functions. It's a one kind of adaptations to environment, and this kind of organism can survive. So we can consider the various alternatives available to organisms for coping with extremes in their environment. Some are able to respond through certain physiological adjustments and other they also show behaviorally. It means that suppose migrating temporarily to a less stressful habitat, it is also observed in our nature. So it's also one type of adaptation. These responses are also actually their adaptations. So we can say simply adaptation is any attribute of the organism. It may be morphological, physiological or behavioral. Once again, any type of attribute like morphological, physiological and behavioral that enables the organism to survive and reproduce in its habitat. So it can consider as a one type of adaptation. Many adaptations have evolved over a long evolutionary time and are genetically fixed. That is important here. Actually they are evolved over a long period of time during evolutionary changes and they are genetically fixed. In the absence of an external sources of water, one example is that is of kangaroo rat in North American desert. As you know very well, in desert area, in desert regions, always scarcity of water is experienced. So, living organisms surviving there, either plants or animal, they are suffering from this water scarcity. This kangaroo rat in North American desert is capable of meeting all its water requirements through its internal fat oxidation. Here, in this, water is a byproduct. It also has the ability to concentrate its urine so that minimum volume of water is used to remove excretory product. So here we can say that in this example of kangaroo rat, this all type of the physiological adaptations are there for the survival in the desert area. In desert area, so many plants are also there. Many desert plants, they have thick cuticle on their leaf surface and their stomata arranged in deep pits. They are known as sunken stomata. Why this so? Can you assume this? You know very well about the importance of cuticle layer which is over the leaf. So we can say it's actually to minimize water loss through transpiration process. So they can fulfill the requirement of water in this desert condition also. They are also having a special photosynthetic pathway. You are already aware of C3 and C3 plants, C3 pathway and C4 pathway. Here they are also having special photosynthetic pathway known as CAM. It means that calcium acid metabolism, and these plants are known as CAM plants. They enables their stomata to remain closed during daytime. So we can say this way minimum loss of water they can experience. Some desert plants, other plants like Opuntia, they have no leaves. They are reduced to spines. Actually here leaves are modified into spines and the photosynthetic function is taken by its stem. It means that here in Opuntia plant, the stem, it acts as a leaf. It is converted into leaf-like green color structure and it can carry out its requirement of photosynthesis. So in Opuntia, such a type of adaptation is observed as a desert plant. So we can say in desert area, surviving plants or animals, okay, they show this type of changes and these are actually adaptations. Now let's discuss about mammals. Mammals from colder climates, generally they have shorter ears and limbs. Why? Because to minimize heat loss. And this condition is known as Allen's rule. In the polar seas, the aquatic mammals like seals, they have a thick layer of fat. It is known as blubber below their skin that act as an insulator and reduces loss of body heat. So in mammals surviving in colder climate, they show such a type of adaptation. It's known as Allen's rule. And in polar seas, the aquatic mammals like seals, they show a layer of fat known as blubber under the skin layer. Okay, so this way it's an insulator type of arrangement and it reduces loss of body heat here. Some organisms, they possess adaptation that are physiological, which allow them to respond quickly to a stressful condition. So this type of response is a quick response and against stressful condition. So one of this, that is altitude sickness. Okay, some of you have also sometimes if experienced that the high altitude place. Okay. In India also such a type of places are there. One of the common example, that is Rohtang Pass near Manali and Leh. So here is an experience that's called altitude sickness. What happens actually? Some symptoms, they include nausea, fatigue and heart palpitation. This is because in the low atmospheric pressure of high altitudes, this point is important here. It is because in the low atmospheric pressure of high altitudes, the body does not get enough oxygen. So it's a scarcity of oxygen, not enough oxygen is achieved. But gradually, when one can get acclimatized and stop experiencing altitude sickness. So it's not for long period of time. Okay, how did our body? They saw this type of problem. The body compensates low oxygen availability by increasing RBC production. It means that red blood production is increasing, decreasing the binding affinity of hemoglobin and by increasing breathing rate. So we can say this all are adaptations against this kind of altitude sickness. It is like to increase RBC cell production, decreasing the binding affinity of HP and by this type of increasing breathing rate. So many people are there, tribes are there, they also live in the high altitude of Himalayas. Now can we find out that how they normally they have higher RBC blood rate or for total hemoglobin comparatively to other people? So we can say that yes, they are having such a type of adaptation for surviving in such a type of extreme condition. So here also in these examples, this organism actually they are adapting their environment for the survival here. In most animals, the metabolic reactions and all the physiological function proceed optimally, that is there a temperature range as we know in our body, human body, that is approximately 37 degrees centigrade. But some microbes are there like archaeobacteria, you have also studied this. They flourish in hot springs and deep sea hydrothermal vents where temperatures exceed 100 degrees centigrade. So interesting, they can also survive at the temperature more than 100 degree centigrade. So they are having some type of adaptations. Large variety of marine invertebrates and fish, they live at great depths in the ocean where the pressure it could be more than 100 times the normal atmospheric pressure that we experience. So how they can survive in this high pressure, and they are having some special enzymes or some special modifications in their body. Organisms living in such extreme environment show a fascinating array of biochemical adaptation. So according to this extreme condition they are suffering, also they are having such a type of biochemical adaptations also. Over and above this, some organisms they show behavioral response to cope up with variations in that environment. One interesting example is here, that is desert lizard. Desert lizards they lack the physiological ability that mammals have to deal with the high temperatures of their habitat, but manage to keep their body temperature fairly constant by behavioral means. It means that they are not having like higher organism mammals body physiological ability to deal with the high temperature of their habitat, but they manage to keep their body temperature fairly constant by behavioral means, not physiological means. They bask in the sun and absorb heat when their body temperature drops below the comfort zone, but move into shade when the ambient temperatures start increasing. Some species are capable of burrowing into the soil to hide and escape from the above ground heat. So this type of some behavioral adaptations are also observed in various living organisms. So we can say in our nature so many examples are there in which living organisms, plants and animal, they adapt their environment. So some type of this physiological changes, behavioral changes they are observed in their body, and this all are considered as adaptations. Now let's discuss about population. What is definition of population? In 11th standard we have studied about this. What is population? Individuals of any species live in groups in well-defined geographical area, share or compete for similar resources, potentially interbreed and constitute population. So we can say this way, in any particular area the development or population take place. Population attributes. In nature, rarely we find isolated single individual of any species. Majority of these species they live in groups in a well-defined geographical area. They also share or compete for similar resources, potential, interbreed and thus constitute a population. So that is the special characteristics of any population. When we use this term interbreeding, it implies sexual reproduction. A group of individuals resulting from even asexual reproduction is also generally considered a population for the purpose of ecological studies. Although conformance in a wetland, rats in the dwelling abundant area, thickwood trees in a forest tract, bacteria in a culture plate and water plants in a pond. There are some examples of population. So many examples of population are available in surrounding us also. So we can come to know about this exactly what is population in nature. So groupism of living organism, if we talk about plants also and in animals also. Individuals or organisms, they has to cope with a changed environment, and it is at the population level also. So natural selection operates to evolve the desired traits. Population ecology is therefore an important area because it links ecology to population, genetics and evolution also. A population has certain attributes, well, the individual organism does not. It is a characteristics of any population. An individual may have birth and death, but population, they are having birth rates and death rates. In population, these rates refer to per capita births and deaths. The rates, that's why express are changed in numbers. It may be increased or decreased, not constant, with respect to members of the population. So many examples we can consider regarding animals or plant about this type of population attribute, that is birth rate or death rate also. You can take any example. For such example, in a pond where suppose number of lotus plants 20, any particular year, last year, and then reproduction, new plants are added. So you can add these new plants to previous number of dead plants, okay, and you can take this ratio. So calculate the birth rate, okay. So new added divided by previous one, and you can get the offspring ratio, that is the per year their ratio. So in individuals in laboratory, population of this type of also can be considered for some examples. So we can say, we can also consider death rate also for population. So this way, this type of population attribute like birth and death, and in particular type of population we can consider as a birth rate or death rate here also. Some other attributes characteristic of population is sex ratio also. An individual is either a male or female, but a population has a sex ratio. For example, 60% of the population are female and 40% is male. So it's a one type of ratio regarding of this population attribute also. So now you can understand what is exactly population attributes. Such a type of birth rate, death rate or sex ratio we can consider. Population at particular given time is composed of individuals of different ages. If this age distribution, it means that percent individual of a given age or age group, that is one type of age distribution is plotted for the population. The resulting structure is called an age pyramid. It's a pyramid shape, and we are considering here as a factor, that is age distribution, that is percent individuals of given age or age group we can say. So it can form a age pyramid. For human population, the age pyramids generally show age distribution of males and females in, okay, suppose we study the diagram or chart, it gives this type of ideas here. Shape of the pyramid reflects the growth status of the population. It may be, we can say, three types. That is first one expanding, where it is growing. The second one is now no further expansion, growth is there, that is stable. And third one where it decreases, and that's why it is a declining. So this type of three status of growth status of population it is observed. First one expanding, second one is stable, and third one is declining. The size of the population tells us a lot about its status in the habitat. In ecological processes we wish to investigate in population, it's be the outcome of competition with other species also, and this impact is actually of a predator or effect of a pesticide application also. So always we can say that any change in the population size is also there. The size in nature could be as low as less than 10. It's an example of Siberian cranes at Bharatpur wetlands in any year we can consider, or it may be in increasing order. It means that the number increases, millions, that is Chlamydomonas in pond. So population size technically it is known as population density, and in short it is also known as capital N. It need not necessarily be the measure in number only. Total number of in generally is the most, that is appropriate the population density we can consider. In particular area we can consider this type of population density regarding animals or plants. Now let's study this figure. Actually it's a representation of age pyramids for human population. Here you can see in this age pyramid, it's a distribution of population regarding their age group wise is distribution. Here you can see three types of color, that is yellow, blue and pink color. What does yellow color suggest? That is actually pre-reproductive phase of their life. Blue color is considered as a reproductive phase, and third one, that is last phase of life, that is post-reproductive. So here all three types of age group pyramids is expanding, stable and declining. As we have studied here, three types are there: expanding, stable and declining. Here you can see, okay, clearly we can study this type of changes in this pyramid. We can also say, as per Bunsen, the reproductive phase and post-reproductive phase. So all three phases of life as well as all three types of age pyramids, that is expanding, first one, second stable and third one is declining. Now you can study this first one. We can see here during pre-reproductive phase, its initial phase of life, the base is broader, okay, and when one moves upward direction it becomes narrow in reproductive phase. During last phase, post-reproductive phase, becomes more narrow, okay. Then stable, you can see, can compare from bottom to top, that is from reproductive to post-reproductive phase, it looks like a stable condition. And third one is again initially reproductive and then some growth and again it decreasing, and that's why it's a declining type of age pyramid. So here this way, by studying this type of age pyramids, we can consider these age pyramids, different types of age pyramids regarding human population. Okay, so sir, during when we study any population, sir, these are some kind of population attributes, and it is important to study